Hello everyone, what is going on? My name is Raven. Welcome back to the channel. Now today we're going to be talking about pretty much the life of Charles Manson. We've been doing a lot of criminals, serial killers, things like that nature. And while this man still is, he also had a cult behind him. So let's go ahead. I'm going to talk about his whole history. Everything I can find, we're going to mention. Okay? So he was born November 12th, 1934 in Cincinnati, Ohio. He died November 19, 2017 in Kern County, California. Now his followers carried out several notorious murders in the late 1960s. The crimes inspired the best-selling book Helter Skelter in 1974. So Manson was born to a 16-year-old girl and a man he would never know. His mother was in prison for armed robbery. He lived with an aunt and uncle in West Virginia. Beginning at age 9, he spent much of his life in juvie, or in prison, for crimes that included petty larceny, armed robbery, burglary, auto theft. He was released from prison in 1967. He moved to San Francisco, where he attracted a small but devoted group of followers from among the city's bohemian youth culture. By 1968, he had become the leader of the quote-unquote family, a communal religious cult dedicated to studying and implementing his eccentric religious teachings, which were drawn from science fiction as well as the occult and fringe psychology. He preached the coming of an apocalyptic race war that would devastate the United States and leave the family in a position of dominant power. His hold over his followers was graphically illustrated in 1969, when the family carried out several murders on Manson's orders. The most famous victim was actress Sharon Tate, wife of film director Roman Polanski, who was killed in her LA home along with 3 guests. Ensuing trial of Manson and his followers in 1970 attracted national attention. In 1971, Manson was sentenced to death, but following the abolition of capital punishment in California in 1972, his sentence was commuted to life in prison. He became eligible for parole in 1978 but was denied, as well as numerous subsequent hearings. Now the murders of Sharon Tate and her guests are shocking and grisly. Now this was achieved the night of August 8th through the 9th of 1969 in LA. 2 or more people were killed on the 10th. After 2 highly publicized trials, Manson and 4 of his followers are convicted of all the murders in 1971. Tate, a fledgling actress whose best-known movie was Valley of the Dolls in 1967, was married to filmmaker Roman Polanski, as I said earlier. Was more than 8 months pregnant. In the summer of 1969, the couple was renting the house at 150 CeeLo Drive in the exclusive Benedict Canyon neighborhood of LA. While Polanski was in Europe, his friend, I'm not even going to try to say that name, and the friends, it's Frykowski and Frykowski's girlfriend, coffee heiress Abigail Folger, were staying with Tate. Manson ordered his follower Charles Tex Watson to go to the drive with several other cult members to kill everyone there as gruesomely as you can. Manson was familiar with the house because his previous tenant, music producer Terry Melcher, had earlier considered and then decided against giving Manson a recording contract. Watson drove to the state with Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Linda Caspian. When they arrived on the property at midnight, they encountered a car driven by Stephen Parent, an 18-year-old who had been visiting the state's caretaker at his home in the guest house. Watson shot Parent to death before he, Atkins, and Krenwinkel broke into the main house, leaving Kasabian to stay at the gate as a lookout. 4 people in the home, celebrity hairstylist Jay Sebring, a close friend of Tate's, was also there, were made to gather in the living room. Tate and Sebring were linked by ropes tied around their necks. Sebring was shot and stabbed to death. Frykowski and Folger managed to free themselves and flee the house, but they were chased down and killed by Watson and Krenwinkel. Finally, Atkins and/or Watson fatally stabbed Tate. As they left, Atkins used Tate's blood to write the word pig on the front door. That's horrible. That is absolutely appalling. The following night, Manson took Watson, Atkins, and Krenwinkel and Kasabian, as well as Leslie Van Houten and Stephen Clem Grogan, in search of more people to murder. He selected the LA home of grocery store executive Leno LaBianca and his wife Rosemary. After Manson and Watson tied the couple up and robbed them. Manson left Atkins, Kasabi, and Grogan. Watson, Van Houten, and Krenwinkel remained, and acting on orders from Manson, stabbed the couple to death, leaving words written in blood on the walls. The crimes created a panic in L.A., especially given the horrific nature. Frykowski had been stabbed more than 50 times and shot twice. Investigators were initially baffled and failed to make the connection between the two murder scenes, while with detectives convinced that a drug transaction was likely the trigger for the Tate murders. However, in October of 1969, various members of the Manson cult were arrested at their base in Death Valley, accused of stealing vehicles and burning equipment. One of those arrested implicated Atkins in an earlier murder. Atkins, while jailed, boasted to cellmates of the Tate murders. By year's end, all the killers had been arrested. The trial, which combined the Tate and LaBianca murders, began in June of 1970, with Kasabian, who had been granted immunity as the main prosecution witness. Despite frequent disruptions, Manson, Atkins, Van Houten, and Krenwinkel were found guilty in 1971. Watson was tried and convicted later that year. All received the death penalty, but the sentences were commuted to life in prison after they abolished capital punishment. Although they became eligible for parole, their requests were repeatedly denied. This story is indeed very gruesome and grisly, and it is very appalling to hear, and it is more appalling to read to you guys as well. Now, I can look into this even more if you want to do a more in-depth video in the future. But I think as of now, that this is good enough. Let me know what you think, if I missed anything in the comment section down below, and if I need to, I will do another video. Before I actually finish the video here, I do want to say one final thing. If you go to the Ghost Adventures Twitter page, on their Twitter account, they actually made a tweet about Charles Manson. And it says, "Is it possible Charles Manson infused his energy into a specific television that he owned?" They did a whole episode about it. Now, I know I talked about them before, and I know that when I did talk about them, I said I wasn't sure if ghosts are real based on evidence. You can always find that video on my channel somewhere. But this episode in particular was indeed very interesting. So I want to make sure you guys definitely see this. I'm going to make sure I leave this in the bottom of the video here. So please let me know what you guys all think in the comment section down below. Do you think that it's possible for an object to have an evil person's energy inside of it? A lot of people that responded to their tweets said that it is possible. Some actually said yes, some say no. So you guys will just definitely have to let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!